Yeah, welcome Aditya ji, welcome.
Hi Bhavish, all the best.
We
So I
are
think,
also live on YouTube now.
great. I think we are good to go. So let's begin, I think. Good evening, friends. You remember an advertisement that said Raymond's the complete man. We modify it to a complete person. Indeed, the boy or girl is complete via good education only. If you revisit that ad, it's the education in the background. Dressing up is just peripheral. Of late, the narrative has been disjointed. Among the youngest workforce on planet Earth, we as a nation, in fact, as entire South Asia, are not able to produce worthy, employable workforce. Is there any mismatch we are able to see? Yes, maybe an overhaul was due. Academia industry gap was wide. Unfortunately, more so in case of green careers. Remember how many energy audit, wind energy solution providers we can find across the road. Solar is still prevalent, but again numbered. One can count on hand shops in the city. We try to dive deep on this subject. You, the students, are enthusiastic to join or take up green careers, but unfortunately, information asymmetry is prevalent. Guidance is something that is missing. With this series, we have tried to bring together a galaxy of climate leaders who have been working on these very aspects through the thick and thin of their lives to share with you how to embark upon this journey, how to overcome probable roadblocks, and most important, where are the green jobs which you and me can look forward to. I have Dr. Madhu Chitkara, Pro Vice Chancellor at Chitkara University, Punjab, and Chitkara University, Himachal Pradesh, joining us. She is known as Soul of Chitkara, which indeed is soul of respective states, as it has emerged as the campus of choice for getting into higher education. Ma'am, you too might be seeing these dilemmas among students on what stream to join, what not to get into for a what not to get into for a successful career, and how you are seeing this transition, especially towards green career choices. How, as a front runner and initiator, you are bringing about the changes and bridging the industry academia gap. Over to you, Madhu ma'am.
Thank you for Bhavish giving me the time, and thanks to all my fellow panelists giving me this opportunity to be part of it. I think this topic is very near to all of us. It's a need of the hour to understand that how the climate change is changing our lives also. So at Chitkara University, I am taking the role of Pro-Chancellor at Chitkara University, and it's a very important time to talk about it, since UN SDG goals also working very, they're also very active about that, start working on the SDG goals and 17 SDG goals. If you talk about Chitkara University, both the universities and our Chitkara International Schools, we have 2 schools and 2 universities. So we are working from P2P, from primary to PhD. So we all have taken this pledge to work on these sustainable development goals. And out of those 17 goals, we are working on 16 goals already. The goal number 14, which is life below water, we are still not working because we are working in the north of the country where the water is not that level where we can talk about the life below water. So those goals, I will tell you that what was the impact of it and how we have started doing it. So if you talk about the university and the schools, I think this sustainability will be on higher on the agenda. At Chitkara University, sustainability was always at front. And because when we started in 2002 and the university in 2008 and 10, we made a charter for us. And there was a 12-point charter. When we are seeing now the UN Sustainable Goals 17, so those charter points 12 were already the part of SDGs. So it means very below, before that we were working on it, but now we have got the mandate. So for that, the students, those who have joined us, I will tell them that how we are working and how they can align them to the activities. Those who are from the school education, they can also work with us. They can join hands with Chitkara University. And those who are from the higher education, we can also do the collaboration, because the national education policy now 2020 mandate is that we have to work very closely with other institutes and with the society and with the all the stakeholders, which comes under the industry. So as you were saying that the bridging the industry academia divide, it is very, very important. So what was the impact of it was that during lockdown also we were working on those goals. So the result and the outcome was, it was the Chitkara University has been ranked fourth in India by the Times Higher Education World University Ranking. And this was a great achievement, because we were working very diligently, very religiously on those goals. And we have got a global ranking. That was a great leap. We were ranked amongst all the 100 countries, 1400 universities. We were ranked 201 to 300 in all the rankings. So if we start working on these goals now, we will be able to achieve what is required from the educational institutes, from a society. And just if I will tell you that during COVID-19 pandemic, there we were working on the environmental action, and 515, if I am not wrong, we counted the webinars. We did 515 webinars across 22 disciplines. So we have a 22 disciplines in our campus. All the courses are there. So we did some of the courses on environmental waste management, some were skill development, some was social innovations, then entrepreneurship. And I am delighted to share that the 300 webinars on only and only on sustainability and green career skill developments. So that helped us to reduce the divide between industry and academia. Now, beyond the course content, we have the fixed course content, but universities and we all have a mandate that we will be doing something, because we are accountable to the society. So we will be doing something where the world should be towards more greener. And for that, we have nearly 100 projects at Curin. Curin is a department in Chitkara, which is known as Chitkara University Research and Innovation Network, where we are hand-holding the students, we are hand-holding the industry, we are hand-holding our faculty members to do something in research. And the impact of that was that we were able to get 65 crores of funding from the government and non-government agencies and from the industry also. So that was the impact when we were working on those goals. So they appreciated our efforts and they gave us the money to work on this, so that we can give some impact and some system to the society to work on it. During this, our faculty members published 4,000 plus Scopus Index research papers. Out of those, 1,500 were directly associated with the sustainability. It can be climate, it can be food technology, it can be sustainable environment, lifestyle, healthcare management. And we have started doing the PhD programs with the industry executives. So if Bhavesh, you are in the industry, you want to come back again to academia. So we have tailor-made program for the industry to do PhD, to become a scholar in Chitkara University. And you can work on research initiatives which are related to the green talent. Now, then I always say that we have to lead by example. And for that, we have to take very, very small steps. So at Chitkara University, as well said by you, you were saying that solar is seen everywhere. We can say that solar energy is used. But what we have done is, for the last so many years, we have hostels staying in our hostel, in our campus. So we have done, it was a conscious effort that when we were doing the construction, we have done the double plumbing. Double plumbing means that STP waters, STP water is used in the flush, and the fresh water is used for brushing and bathing. So in that way also we are saving the water, because water saved, because it's a need of the hour to save water. So we have started with the paper recycling plant. We have a zero waste campus. For that, the campus was honored by, for the Swachhta Abhiyan, Government of India, and for different panels, we were honored for it. So we are using the whole hostel is on solar energy, eco-friendly green campus. Then we have waste management plants, biogas gas plants, as you were mentioning. Then solar lounges. What we have done is that in all the playgrounds and in all the grounds, we have made solar lounges, and those are the products and patented by our students. So those lounges, during the daytime, it is charged with the solar energy, and at night when the students are sitting there, they can use their laptops there, because they want to charge it. So those chargings are used. So it in that manner, our campus has become very eco-friendly, and it has become very, and it is all recognized by all the several government and non-government agencies. Then if you talk about our courses, that how we are doing it, so we are offering so we are offering nearly value-added courses on sustainability, and for that we are working on different funds. So we were able to get the seed funding. So all these activities are done by our students in association with the faculty members, with the industry experts, and one thing which makes them green talent ready to take greener career. So I think in short, at the end, I will just tell you that by understanding and reducing our own uses, so you can say that we can save the water, you can save energy. So in that way, we can make this planet very comfortable to stay with. Thank you very much.
Great insights, ma'am. In fact, with your words, I think the solar huts or the solar cantonments that you have put up, we look forward to visit you anytime soon and see the practicality of it. And as you rightly said, doing by hands or seeing is believing. I'm pretty hopeful that when students visit those kind of things, interact with those kind of products, it makes or breaks that very nudge as to what it is, how it is relevant to me, or how can be a part of the future change maker in times to come. Indeed, great work out there. We'll just come back to you as we do the first round of conversation. And with
Thank
this, I move to Ms. Pratna Bora. Pratna is head India CDP. CDP was better known as a Carbon Disclosure Project earlier. She brings with her 25 years of experience working with grassroots to the pinnacle of policy making, both national and international level. She has worked on different subjects, in fact, difficult subject of clean air, with which our entire South Asia is grappling. We'll ask her to talk about it also. But before this, I want to dive deep with her on this very net zero debate that that CDP has in fact initiated long ago. Ma'am, please help how CDP in terms of understanding carbon footprint and probably then offset as well, that too with a range of stakeholder is doing, and what are the career opportunities that our new students, our new fellows can look forward to. Over to you, Pratna ji.
Hi, very good afternoon and happy World Environment Day. Only one Earth is the theme. So I think it's really nice to be here with a group of people who I've known for many years and who have kind of grown in my environmental journey. I was going to, I had a few slides, but I think I'm not going to use the slides because I think they might just seem very complicated because, you know, the environmental terminology over the years has become slightly complicated. You know, we've moved from simple conservation dialogue to, you know, what Bhavesh just mentioned in terms of net zero and decarbonization, which is basically just reducing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. So I think what I'm going to do is just give you a few pointers, and then maybe when Bhavesh opens up the conversation, you'll have an opportunity to ask me some questions. So I work for an organization called CDP, and CDP is a global NGO which has been working for over 2 decades in something called corporate disclosure, city disclosure, states disclosure, region disclosure. Now, what is disclosure? Disclosure is voluntarily talking about what you're doing and what impacts the environment. So basically what we deal with is data on how corporates voluntarily tell us in terms of their work as far as climate risk assessment and climate opportunities. Similarly, water-related risks and water opportunities, and forest-related risks and what they're doing in terms of forest conservation. So we are basically an organization that collects this data and helps with the use of this data in terms of projections. So our main users are the investors. So we all know that, the money that investors they put into companies. So basically they assess which companies are lesser at risk or are working towards, mitigating those risks. And that is how they invest in these companies. So we are basically a network of investors, consumers who demand this data, policymakers who use this data in terms of regulations, and of course the companies who actually provide for these data. We also have a city and state disclosure program. So this helps in cities gauging their status as far as where they stand in terms of climate risks and how they using their water and forest and working towards water conservation and forest preservation. Now, we are talking about a huge amount of figures, large amounts of figures here. And we have almost 600 investors who use our data. And these are global investors. And they actually identify the companies which are lesser on lesser climate lists so that they can invest on them. We had almost 14,000 companies who disclosed to us last year. And we also have about 1,000 plus cities which kind of report to us and disclose to us. And there are 200 plus supply chain. Now, what is the supply chain? Supply chain is the group of companies that feed into companies in terms of providing the raw material, and also the companies that use that the byproduct and bring it to the market. So this is the kind of reach that we have with our data. And I'm going to actually give you a few pointers in terms of where the countries are transitioning or where the corporate is transitioning, so that we can identify opportunities for green jobs, because the topic that was given to me was towards green economy, but where are the jobs? So I'd like to start with the first opportunity. The first opportunity is that almost 68% of the companies have today emission reduction targets. And when I say emission reduction targets, that means they want to reduce the emissions. So if the 68% companies want to reduce emissions, this means that these companies will transition to energy efficient projects as well as cleaner energy projects, which means the jobs are going to be there in clean energy. And this is what we need to aim at. So basically, whatever training that comes in, and Dr. Chitkara just spoke about it right now, that the understanding of renewables, the importance of renewables and the energy efficiency is going to be very important in the future in whatever career path that you take in, because ultimately the employment is there, because we are transitioning to what we call net zero, which means that we want to reduce the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. And this we can only do with clean energy. The second aspect that I wanted to mention, today there is something called science-based targets, which has been prescribed for corporates as well as cities. Now, science-based targets helps companies set targets in terms of where they want to be in 2050 in terms of keeping the temperature at 1.5 or at 2 degrees. So basically, it's the transition pathway that they have to define with these targets. And when you're defining these targets, you also plan out your production processes, your delivery distribution processes, where you're going to get your raw materials from, so that you can look at low carbon transition, what you call a low carbon transition. So we already have about 1,300 plus companies world over who have set science-based targets. Finally, if you look at CDP data, in 2021, we had almost 300 A-listers. And when we say A-listers, these are companies which have identified climate risks. They have looked at the climate transition journey. They have looked at how they will plan their energy transition. They looked at how they would look at, reducing the impact on nature while acquiring their raw materials. And also they looked at good waste management policies within the organization. This is a very simplified way of talking because it's much more complicated than that. But because you're in school, I'm trying to I highlight that the opportunities for jobs, even within the corporate sector, which could be of interest to many of you, because you might be wanting to go into the corporate sector as as managers or as IT professionals, or I don't know, I mean, energy experts. So I think there we need to realize that there are 3 or 4 areas that are going to be an opportunity in terms of sectoral areas which would provide jobs. I want to go just give you a set of different statistics based on data that we analyzed over the last 1 year, in terms of the data that we got in India, where almost 88 companies, investor requested companies, gave us data in terms of what they are doing with related to climate related risks, as well as their contribution to water security as well as forest conservation. Now, 98% of these companies that disclose to us actually have the issue of climate change being discussed at the leadership level, at the board level, at the governance level, at the CEO level. And every 3 months they report on climate risk, which means that the climate is important for companies in terms of risk assessment, which is where the jobs will be. And when we talk about climate, what are the areas that we want to discuss comes into the question. And the first areas, again, we come into energy efficiency and energy transition. And again, if I look at some figures, almost 52% of the companies that reported to us have emission reduction projects, while almost 51% of them have energy reduction projects, which means that there is energy efficiency, and your technical training on energy efficiency as well as energy transition is going to be very important, because these are the ones that are going to be this is where the jobs are going to be. Now let's move to another sector where I talked about engagement, because many of these companies that reported to us also engage with their supply chain. Now that is upstream and downstream. Now when we say upstream, it is all the suppliers who work with the companies. And now with the suppliers, we see that there's almost 25% engagement. And so basically they're looking at sustainable resources. So issues of getting the right resources is going to be very important. So it's important that careers like ecological, which support ecological regeneration, which look at conservation, are going to be very important. And similarly, we have the engagement with the customers. So training in terms of how you train the people who are buying your products and your consumers, that is also going to be very important in terms of an area which has the opportunity for jobs. Now, the challenge here today is that we do not have enough data in terms of where the jobs are going to be. And that is, I think, where we need to look at, because I think there's not enough data in terms of what are the kind of jobs. We know the sectoral areas, and there are smaller studies which talk about energy efficiency is going to be an area, energy transition is going to be an area, sustainable materials is going to be an area, waste management is going to be an area, but we don't exactly have the numbers at the moment, which is going to be a challenge. But we do know that there is going to be a slight, there's going to be a growth in that area. The second area that we need to really look at is this whole education. And I think this is where universities like the Chitkara University is playing a major role in terms of how do we bring to young people this knowledge in terms of where the jobs are. And I think that is an area that we really need to, build up. And I think forums like this are going to be very important to bring the message of this technical information to the students via the universities and schools. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Pratna. Indeed, that was quite insightful in terms of taking us through the layers of CDP, the carbon mechanism, the understanding of it. We'll come back to you in terms of diving deeper in the subject on the targets, say immediate ones and the long term of it. Thank you so much. And with this, I invite at the panel Miss Rojita Singh. Rojita is handling a very interesting vertical at UNDP, the Accelerator Lab, that is picking up worthy projects relevant for the student community and seeing its prospect on ideas turning into big impactful portfolios. She herself is an avid climate change crusader and was in Antarctica recently seeing the unfortunate changes there with her own eyes. We look forward to have you talking on it, ma'am. Please help us understand the bigger concept of circular economy that Pratna just spoke of, how it is related to green carriers, and if you can also throw light on UNDP's perspective of what this lab is all about and how it is helping with the green carrier choices. Rosita, over to you.
Thank you so much, Bhavesh. Thank you for having me today. And very happy to be here and seeing amazing, chat activity going on between students and the whole student community is here. So let me take a moment to, just take you through certain visuals. So I'll just share my screen. Please let me know when you can see. Yeah, I think should be. Is that visible?
Yeah, visible. Yeah.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone, and happy World Environment Day, although, of course, every day should be celebrated as one. So as Bhavesh mentioned, recently I was part of a 150-person team journeying to Antarctica in March. And I just wanted to share, just a simple clip of the visuals and also the pristine wildlife that we saw in Antarctica, and then I'll be taking it ahead. So here it goes.
Everybody, like a welcome by the penguins.
So the reason why I showed you that clip was, just to make you realize and just to also share with you that although, I have been working in sustainability since over a decade now, even for me, being there and witnessing the impacts of climate change firsthand was very hard hitting. And I just want to also share with you, let me just share back my screen again. Sorry. So I also want to, share with you that, when you look at those visuals, you feel that, this pristine environment and wildlife actually needs to be protected. And unfortunately, we have been observing a lot of these impacts of climate change really closely. So while we were there in March, there were, record-breaking temperatures that were recorded both in the North Pole and the South Pole. The sea ice concentration was at the lowest. And, this was really impacting the wildlife. But today, I really want to, touch upon the topic of circular economy. And why I want to focus on this is that it is very closely related to climate change mitigation. So, just to share with you what has happened in our world is that, humanity has actually reached two major milestones. So one, the world is consuming 100 billion tons of material, and it has warmed up by 1 degree. And if you really look at this, very interesting report called Circularity Gap Report, it says that, 70% greenhouse gas emissions actually occur because of the activities of consumption and production. So everything that we consume in our daily needs, everything that is produced by manufacturers, by industries, this is causing 70% of the greenhouse gas emissions. And if you really look at this, report deeply, it basically tells you that there is a potential of circular economy to really help us in mitigating climate change. And this happens because, by applying certain strategies, which I would be, taking you through, you can actually really increase the value retention, you can cut the excessive consumption, and you can use the materials that are already there in our world in a much more efficient way. So just to give you an idea, and I know some students are also here who might be curious about this. Some of you might have already heard about this term, circular economy. So this is basically a byproduct of industrial revolution. So we know that, we live in a world which is running on linear economy, that is take, make, waste. So while industrial revolution, raised the standards of living for so many in the world, it also led to a lot of downsides, including, production of waste, a lot of pressure on the finite resources that we have. And the idea behind circular economy is simple. It seeks to design out waste. It seeks to regenerate our natural ecosystems and then keep the materials and products in use for as long as possible. So these are the basic 3 principles of circular economy. And just to take a closer look, this is the famous, butterfly diagram of Ellen MacArthur Foundation that you can read about later. But here, all of us have really heard about this term recycling. But in fact, if you really look at a circular economy, recycling is the last resort. So there are a number of principles that the industries can adopt while making goods and products. So one is maintaining or prolonging the use of materials. So this is really designing for durability, really looking at maintenance and repairability aspects. Then if you go further, you look at reuse models. So these are our second-hand markets, our e-commerce stores that offer us, say, refurbished products. So something that is not extracted as virgin materials from the earth, but something that can actually be reused or redistributed. We actually have a lot of, companies now that are looking at refurbishing a lot of equipments that they put in the market, whether it's electronics or medical equipments. They are taking back these equipments. They are doing parts harvesting. And this way, they're able to reduce the need for new material that goes into a new product. And then, of course, we all are familiar with recycling, but we need to understand that we need to go beyond recycling. There are now concepts of upcycling coming up. Pratna was mentioning about the upstream and downstream linkages with industry. This means that, one industry's waste can actually become another industry's resource. And this is where I think our next gen workers or next gen economy should be focusing on. So if you speak about green jobs, the kind of innovations that we need today to really rapidly increase our circular economy in the world right now is in material research. We need, disciplines to come together for R&D. We need to find out whether we can find better alternatives to plastics that are already overused, and the single-use plastics specifically are leaking into our oceans. So there is a lot of research and design capability that we need in our world right now. We also speak about modular aspects of our products. So can we break down certain devices to make it more repairable? And this is where we really need the skill sets. Another area, interestingly, from the green job or green education policy is needed is in developing new business models. So I'll be speaking a little bit about that. So if you really look at some of the examples on your screen, these are industries, innovations, you can call them, movements where somebody has really redesigned the concept of doing business with the consumer. So imagine phones that you can take apart to make them really modular so that, if your phone is not working, you can just replace that one small component instead of replacing or buying a new phone. There is this program through Mud Jeans, a UK-based company, where basically you can actually deposit your old jeans when you're buying a new jean, get a discount, and that old jeans actually becomes reprocessed into sweaters and hats. There is this very interesting, innovation startup called Splosh. Splosh soap, which is basically DIY detergents. So this whole world of do-it-yourself, DIY, is a growing movement in conscious consumerism, where customers can actually just purchase this subscription model of starter box, where you, instead of having those horrible single-use plastic which holds your detergent, you have like a concentrated sachet of liquid that you can make soaps at your home. You just need to add your warm tap water and you can make soaps at your home or cleaning agents at your home. We all are also familiar with this growing movement where when you go to your local kirana dukan or your shops, they are now actually allowing you to carry your container, so that you can buy your dal, you can buy your supplies and fill it in your container instead of taking them in those plastic bags. So these are some very interesting examples, and industries are really changing. Some of the example that comes from is in the field of vehicles. So imagine circular vehicles, and this is not something sci-fi fiction or in the future. This is happening. So Renault is actually doing this. So they have a huge recycling scheme where they actually take back some material from the end of life vehicles. So materials like textiles, steel, plastics, these can actually be recovered and they can actually go into your new machine. So currently in Europe, actually predominantly because of the legislations also that are favorable, 36% of the total mass of a newly produced Renault vehicle is actually coming from recycled materials. And this approach is quite crucial to circular economy. And going further, they have also actually started remanufacturing engines. And we are also seeing a huge movement in terms of coming up with new business models in terms of like product as a service model. So many people actually ask, is circular economy profitable? A big yes, because there are a number of reasons why. You can actually hedge the risk that comes with your materials and these uncertain and price volatilities that happen. You can actually reduce manufacturing cost, which is a great incentive for the companies to invest in it. There are companies, to give you example, Philips, where I worked on circular economy before, there was a KPI at the business level that 15% of your revenue should come from circular products and services, and they achieved it in 2020, and now the target is actually 25% should come from circular products. And what they did was, very interestingly, they did not suffer a loss in it. It was very profitable. So they actually started refurbishing their bigger health tech equipments like MRI machines, and it led to a new revenue stream coming into through subscription model, through new customers coming in. So it's a new way of doing business, and that's why there is a huge job creation potential. Just today, I think in half an hour or so at 6 p.m., the Honorable Prime Minister will actually be launching a program called LIFE, which is Lifestyles for Environment. And it will be predominantly focusing on circular economy and how we as community, as layman citizens can actually become more conscious of our waste, of our resources that we are using. So this is a very interesting topic for the future. And it also holds the key for climate change mitigation. So maybe more on that later, but I'll stop here for now.
Great. Thanks. Indeed insightful. And thanks for those Antarctica picks. Really means heart goes out as to what is happening out there. Really bad. And I'm seeing that the whole gamut is sitting out here. The academia is sitting, the industry interface is there, you as policymaker or influencer is sitting as to what needs to be done. And now we move to Aditya Pundir, who is country director, India and South Asia for Climate Reality Project, who is working as the intersection of it, or I would say as a catalyst of it all, in terms of doing things diligently. How one component very firmly gets into another one and augments this whole perspective. Sir, over to you. Please help us understand what these green jobs perspectives are, what these green campuses are as they are made, what these green labs of change, these climate change centers are that you are making. Over to you.
Thank you, Bhavesh. It was really interesting listening to all the speakers and what wonderful work Chitkara University is doing, and of course Pratna is doing some very incredibly useful with them. And I was really amazed by this Antarctica and the circular economy, which Rosda talked about. So yeah, it's I think we have. So it's the webinar is heating up with lots of good information coming in. And yeah, it's a welcome to all the people who are part of the green campuses who are here today. And we are so very happy to have you all with us. And this is an exercise which we are trying to do so that we can have more green campuses coming up with the activities which they can do. There's a reason for that. The reason is, if you people are following what's happening in the domain of climate change, well, we have stopped calling it climate change now. We have started calling it climate emergency, because things are not very similar. Now things are getting out of hand. The way things are, Delhi going to 49.5, and probably another 10 years down, we might be looking at 50 plus figures at a lot of places in the country. So with this coming up, incredible amount of heating happening, and emissions, the pollution still rising, though it should have been falling. So by 2030, if we don't get a pollution and our emissions down by more than 45%, we are not going anywhere. So with this as a background, it has become very important today that all the parts of economy, as you look at the sustainable development goals, everything has to go together. So similarly, now what we are looking at is that for climate, in case we want to get over this challenge of climate change, we all have to come together and work on a single project. Now the solution, how do we work on it? And one very important part is that what people are saying is that this is a very, very definitely, it's a very big challenging job, but the technology, which may be looking at the future, the behavior change, the way we act, the way we do things, and the innovation, which we are looking at, which may be coming out of so many young people today working on this. So this is some of the things which would be the future, like the way to solve the climate crisis. Now, as I talked about innovation, I talked about technology, I talked about behavioral change. Where does it all happen? It all happens in the schools. It all happens in the universities, colleges. That is where the ideas are made. People develop their value system, their attitudes to life, and that's what the world is. Unfortunately, this was missing in the last so many years. And unfortunately, my generation, I would say, we people were not taught these concepts when we were growing up. And that's why the world is in a mess today. So, but still we haven't missed the bus. Now, still the time is there. So now we have to concentrate on how do we get the young people in the country, the people like who are attending this webinar, the people who are in this Green Campus program, what do they have to do? So they have a big job at hand. In Green Campus, what we are trying to do is we are trying to take these concepts of sustainability into the schools. Initially, we started with teachers training program, where we would work with teachers, we would give them all the concepts, and then we would move out. But then the schools and colleges got back to us. They said, it's you come, you go, we do it for a month or two, and then it's all over. So we said, fine, let's do something more permanent. So we started working on a Green Campus program since 2018, and now we have more than 150 campuses who are part of the Green Campus who are working on it. Is that we said, fine, let's make first the building green. Let's the building in which you are studying, the school, the college, the university, that building should be green. Because only a green building, you will be able to impart the right concepts to the students. Because when a student comes and he sees a green building, he will have an idea of what a green building looks like and how to proceed further. So what do I mean by a green building or a green school or a green campus is, it consists of, you can say, 5 major things. One thing is it talks about energy. We start putting solar panels, we start putting LED lights, we start reducing the consumption of energy in the school. So that's part of your energy. Then we start working on the water part of it. You should have rainwater harvesting, you should have water conservation methods. If you can become a zero discharge school, there's nothing like it, or big universities and people who have resources are already becoming one. So water becomes the second most important thing. Then the third thing is the waste. Like we should have composting happening inside the school or the college. We should be having waste segregation. The dry waste should be, first we should try to reduce it. We should try to make a school a zero plastic campus zone. So all these things, slowly, we start learning how to segregate waste at the school and also how to reduce our waste. That's very important. So waste becomes another third pillar. Then the fourth pillar we have is greens. We try to have children or the college students take part more in the green activities like planting of trees, making your own farming beds, trying to understand how this whole thing works, planting more trees in the community. So those are the activities we do under greens. And then finally, it's about health and air quality and health. This is absolutely crucial in today's world of so much of pollution is happening and the kind of illnesses people are having. So having a pollution-free campus, having electric buses, or having a transportation by cycles, walking, making it more conducive for bicycling inside the campuses. So all these activities ultimately lead, when the students are studying, they see it firsthand. So when they go back home, when somebody talks to them about these activities, they can always say, well, I know I was to a green campus. I know what is a solar panel like, how it works, the functionality. I know what's rainwater harvesting. I know how do you segregate waste and all those things. So all these things gets drilled into the staff, the teachers, as well as the students. And ultimate aim is that these then things are taken out and implemented in the community. So that's what the ultimate objective is. And then, of course, we are also working on innovation. We try to get students, we expose them to the innovation labs. Like there are a lot of competitions which keeps on going all around the world now happening on clean energy, and a lot of venture capital is coming, which is going to be good green jobs. So here again, we are trying to expose our green campuses to these information. That's this webinar is also, you can say, something in this direction only, so that we can expose to you the latest what's happening in the world of environment. And the greens jobs are definitely the future. And the way the things are, as I told you, that we have to bend the emission curve down. We have to get the emissions down, and the technologies and the innovations which are required for this have still to come. At present, there's no technology which we can say is going to solve this challenge. And as ma'am said about circular economy, it's hardly the Europe, which is very advanced in circular economies, are only about 12-13% they're doing it. So you can imagine the kind of scope you have in green jobs, which will be more satisfying, will be good for the planet, and will also be good paying. So this is what the objective of the Green Campus program is, so that the people who go into these schools, to the colleges, they have a good understanding of how things work, and they have a different perspective to the environment. Like when you look out and you look at solutions, you don't look at a problem. So thank you very much. And a lot of, I think, speakers will be coming and talking about this in the coming days. And I wish you all the best. You enjoy yourself. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions. Keep shooting them to us. And I'm quite sure this interaction backward and forward will lead us somewhere. Thank you. Back to you, Bhavesh.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And just on this very topic, again, I repeat that it's a whole, as she was saying, of a circular economy. In fact, it's a whole circular PDCA cycle kind of a thing coming in, wherein Madhu ma'am is implementing the things, Pratna bringing in the nitty-gritties of those net zero tits and bits, Rosita speaking from the upper sphere as to what can be done, what are international organizations doing, and you as implementer are doing things on the ground. I think this is need of the hour, so as to make a meaningful difference overall. Though I had my personal questions pouring in, but then there are a lot of questions coming from students as well. Students, you can post in Q&A, and we start with you as well. So Mr. Arush Yadav is asking, which job is best for us as well as for environment is concerned? So anybody who wants to unmute and please help answer the best out of it. Which job is best for him and probably for the environment, he wants to ask.
Okay.
I can give the answer. That's because we are from a university, and I can tell the student, first of all, thank you asking this question. There are now so many courses, not only if you have done, I don't know that which course you have been enrolled to, but if you have done something in the courses where you can talk about anything about the environment protection. So we have so many jobs, not only from a particular discipline, but the other discipline students can also work on it. So for example, that well said by Aditya, that there are so many startups coming up where you can have a job very much secured, or you can have your own startup in any of the avenues of this. So it is not that particularly one subject student can go to this. I have seen many students going from chemistry branch to environmental, and then getting a job into a department of science and technology or department of pollution board. So one of my student was got a job in Punjab pollution control board, and he was a student from electronics. So I think now there is a very interdisciplinary approach, and according to NEP also, that now the students, if they don't have to bother about the subject to be chosen, but they can work on the extra credit, and they can go for any of the jobs. So it's not particular. In our times it was that you have to do these jobs, but now anybody or everybody can go to the job where they can talk about the environment.
Wow, great, ma'am. Great. I have some questions for you also. We'll come back to you. Pratna, there is an interesting question which says that doomsday is approaching. Obviously, with your carbon, say, offset mechanism and measurements, which is the sector to which you think is responsible to the most as far as that doomsday is concerned? If I put it in simple ways, which sector is emitting the most? And then what are the scope of reduction as far as that sector is concerned, as these students can look forward to a future career perspective out there?
Thank you. Firstly, I want to say that I don't think we should say doomsday is approaching, because otherwise it will make people like Aditya and me, who've been working in the space for so many years, feel like we've not done anything. So I don't think we should take an approach like that. And coming from an environmental education background, I think we need to be positive, and there has been change. It's not that there hasn't been change. And if you look at even what I showed in terms of the corporate sector engagement, I think we have seen tremendous change in terms of the engagement. There was a time when the business community was looked at as the opposition, and environmental community was on one side while the business community was on one side. But if you look at after the recent COP, we have seen that the corporate sector feels very much part of this, because there is a huge risk involved, and we all know that this risk is going to impact all of us. So coming back to your question on which is the sector, I think there is no one single sector, because I think we need to look at it from a rather holistic perspective. One is the use of natural resources. That is where a challenge arises, and most of the problems that we see today is because of the overuse of natural resources. And there's a very interesting diagram which we used to share almost 10 years back, which showed that if we continue to use resources in the way that we are doing, that by 2050 we would need 4 planets. So I think firstly the resource use needs to slow down, and there is where resource efficiency needs to come in. And this is where we talk about energy efficiency, and we need to talk about how we use our natural resources more efficiently. The second is the whole area of energy, because I think energy itself is one of the key areas which we look at whenever we talk about these terminologies like decarbonization and reducing carbon and carbon friendly. I think it's all related to energy. So the transition from the fossil fuel based industry to the renewables, to cleaner energy, and also the efficient use of energy, which actually goes into, again, our efficient use of resources. And the third is what Rajita said, is the waste, what is coming out of our whole projection. There's a very interesting concept, and because it's World Environment Day, I want to bring it back. It's rather romantic, but if you look at the concept of nature doesn't have a concept of waste. Everything in nature is useful. And I think if we look at traditionally, and today you have, biomimicry and other areas which looks at nature from that perspective. But if you look at nature, just look at a tree, how it grows and how every product of it is useful. And even when the leaves fall, it becomes a compost which goes back into the cycle. So circularity, actually, the circular economy is based on this whole circular aspect of nature. So I think I don't want to single out sector by saying that this is the bad industry or this is the good industry, because I think if you're going to focus on one, then you stop focusing on the other, and then the other becomes the bad industry. So I think we need to look at it from these 3 perspectives, and then identify where we want to be and what is the change we want to bring in as individuals.
Thank you. Thanks for the great answer out there, Rosita. Circular economy has a big component on waste management and efficient usage. Our students also are probably understanding with respect to the waste that we are seeing at our homes alone. But when you speak of those vehicles, the second or third usage of components from them, in fact recycling of them, same goes for clothing, same goes for plastic, same goes for many things. How do you see that as a career for these students to dive deep into, and what are the avenues they can look forward to as far as the concept is concerned?
Definitely. I think lots of great questions coming in the chat, but to focus on this, I think from the students' perspective who are looking at careers here, very important to see that whether it is industry or government or, whether you talk about private sector or startups, everybody first is wanting to know their footprint. So measurement and reporting has become a very, need of the hour. So what gets measured gets managed. So whether it is a company or a government or a private sector startup, they're looking at where they are drawing from resources, where is it going. So the whole life cycle assessments has become an important tool, and these tools can actually be learned by several disciplines. It's not only engineering students who will do it, or bioscience students who will do it. We need a multidisciplinary background to come together for it. So there are a number of directions one can actually take. So measurement and reporting can be one, LCA studies of life cycle assessment. Several folks are now actually in the industry looking at carbon neutrality and looking at supply chain. So if I'm making a product, where is my raw material coming from? So supply chain sustainability has suddenly become the need of the hour, and it has so many components in it. Again, I think Pratna mentioned about looking at it holistically. So it's not a single dimension. So everybody can contribute to it. I mean, my career as a journey is also an example. I mean, I did a master's program that was launched only for the first time in 2010 when I did my master's in sustainable development. Before that, it didn't exist. So it helped me transition. And I was studying journalism. So it was a very different social sciences background. And then I came into research mode. A lot of research is needed when we speak about waste management. There are lots of, actionable items or actionable things you can do. Somebody had mentioned in the chat about composting, dry waste, wet waste. We already know a lot of composting organizations and startups working in the space sector, but also a lot of researchers, every policy think tanks that are emerging in the climate space. They are always looking for multidisciplinary background to join them, to help them in their research. So I guess in that sense, the opportunities are many. And I think it's just about, just equipping yourself with these tools and these knowledge, as Ms. Madhu mentioned about this education infrastructure that is, needed and is already there, that can be utilized, and then opportunities do open up. We see that a lot.
Great. Thank you for this, Rojita. Aditya ji, there is an interesting question which says that if renewables are abundant, why are we not generating or using them in continuity?
Okay. The thing is like this, if you see the world, like how, because the infrastructure which you require to make electricity, that is a massive power plant, which everybody must have seen, which we have near Delhi also, we have most of the places. So these plants which are there, they take a lot of investment, they take a lot of time to build up. And this infrastructure world over has been there for a very long time. Like in India's case, literally more than 70% to 80% of our electricity is coming from coal. So in that situation, those you just can't overnight switch into renewables, because that again is a very capital intensive. You need so many solar panels, you will need so many windmills. Then again, you need a lot of space. One thing we must always understand is that renewable energy, when we talk about, we are never talking about space which it requires. Like, for example, a coal plant is very dense. Like, for example, one coal plant near Delhi will be able to feed Delhi. But then how much area do we require to put up solar panels so that those solar panels can then take care of Delhi? That would be a very big area. So there are a lot of trade-offs when we are looking at these things. So, so the renewables are growing. It's taking time. And that's what everybody's fighting about. Like if you look at any a policy magazine or anything, they're saying that we are wasting so much of money in putting into defense. Everybody is buying this massive war is happening today between which Ukraine and Russia war is happening. The amount of billions and billions of dollars are being burned. They're just explosions, and the equipment Just imagine if that kind of money would have gone into just making solar panels, windmills, and renewable energy assets, that would have got the transition much faster. So the basic thing I think the students should try to understand is that it is the money at the end of the day. It is the money which matters. And if you don't have the money, you cannot build the solar panels, you can't build the windmills. It'll take time. So India has itself asked that we want $1 trillion by 2030, in case you want us to really go, really have a conversion in India. Otherwise, with all the money which the country can afford, because we have to pay for so many other projects also. You see, COVID happened in 2020. All the money which was supposed to be going in for developing clean assets around the world, all that money suddenly went for COVID. And now COVID is over. Everybody was very happy that, well, now the money will go for climate change and all these things. Now the war starts. The dollar, the oil prices jump from $70 to $130. So all the money has gone in buying of this petrol and the diesel for fossil fuels. So again, we are back to square one. So that is why we need money. So you should try to understand it's the money which is a very big constraint. Technologies do exist today, but to scale them, we need the money, and that money is what the world is talking about.
Great. Thank you. So as concluding remarks, I come back to all of you and want to understand one pain point that you feel within the current scenario as far as green jobs are concerned, you all are facing. And then what are the probable outcomes or solutions that we as a whole, as a community, as you as initiator can look forward to in times to come? So Madhu ma'am, I want to start with you.
Thank you, Bhavesh. I think now everybody should start thinking of, instead of asking the jobs, they should be more job creators. That is why during the lockdown, we were able to get so many startups. Even in our campus, we are able to get more than 180 startups working in our incubation centers. And I think that is the need of the hour, and that is the future of our country. The second thing which I want to have is a very informal thing, that I am very impressed with the panel today. This was the first time that all the panelists, I am able to get so much knowledge. So I request Bhavesh, Rosita, Prarthana and Aditya ji, all of you, please come to our campus, Chitkara University, and give us some suggestions, because we are the nation builders and we have to talk to our students. I think your talks will give them the ways and means to work for the future projects. I will give you in short one project where we are hand-holding our school students also, since we have a schools, Chitkara International Schools. So what they did was they were working with the startups in university, and the result was that they are able to get from the angel fundings from them. They are able to get the funding and able to get a space in the incubation center, come up with the patent, which they are started earning. So that was a small, because one of the chat box there, one of the student asked that how we can work in the startup system. So they have come up, that student have come up with a small, because the flats are there, so we don't have any greenery in our flats. So they've come up with a box, the normal oil box, in which he has grown the vegetables, small vegetables, which is a daily need, and that student is earning a lot. So I think this is the need of the hour, and it's a future. And one was, I will take 1 minute more, that Rosita said that she was talking about linear economy and circular economy. I have to understand in detail, but she was saying that how we are using our used products. I will give you one example, that we have a Center for Happiness. It was started by Dalai Lama ji. So that happiness lounge, because now there is a rule that after 15 years, we can't use our buses. So it has to be not on the roads. So what we did, that in that bus, because we have 100 buses running to taking the students to the campus. So those buses are used for making happiness lounge. Students are sitting there with those touch shops. So we are not taking the land, and just those buses are used. So these are the change which we can do. And Aditya was talking about that how you can use the climate emergency, because it was very well used, climate emergency. And now I have understood this word. I will talk about this word in my talks also, that how we have to take care of this climate emergency. For that, in our campuses, we have started working on hydroponics. We have vermicompost system. All the waste from the mess are there for making the manure. And then we have started vertical gardening. So we have the whole campus with wherever there is a space, there is a vertical garden. That wall is given to a group of students and they're working on those vertical gardens. So this is the need of the hour. Last but not the least, there is one question, Asmita. She's saying that which job is not stressful and very interesting. So very interesting question, Asmita. Every job is not stressful. Every job is interesting if you do it with passion, if you do it with happiness. So all the difficult jobs, if you are happy, if you introspect yourself, so every job is happy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. In
Well
fact,
said, ma'am.
insightful. We'll remain in touch, ma'am. And students, yes, as my dear colleague Rekha ji is saying, you have your teachers also lined up here, and we have a very interesting session with Mr. with Mr. Shivam out here in some time. So please don't leave. And with this, I come to you, Pratna. One challenge and the solution part of it.
So I want to actually give my last words based on this panel. And I think one of the biggest challenge is that access to information. And there's a lot of information that is already there. And we do really need to bridge the gap because, you know, even within the environmental community, there is a group of people who are working on the research and the you know, the preparation of the technical papers and the technical knowledge is there. But this technical information needs to be translated to a much more, to a language that, you know, young people can understand. And I'm really very happy to be part of this forum because otherwise I would probably not be in this forum, but because obviously education has been my background, so I was invited. Otherwise, I think an organization like CDP, which houses so much data on where the transition journey is would not be, you know, part of this kind of a forum. So I think with Climate Reality and Chitkara University, I see a lot of you know, knowledge development that is possible, which can be brought to students, because I think we talk about energy transition, but how do you actually projectify it to, you know, to the implementation level? And what is the energy transition projects that students can be part of it? You know, I think we need to go a little bit deeper in terms of case studies, good practices, and actually highlight these so that, you know, we are able to have this database and able to answer questions. Because I think we talk about decarbonization and net zero, but ultimately it's all about mitigation, whether it's air pollution or climate change. I think it's about mobility solutions, it's about waste solutions, and it's about, you know, resource generation, ecological regeneration solutions. So I think it would be very interesting to come up with a very specific compendium in terms of what are some of the good practices that could be, you know, where students can contribute. I know Madhuji talked about startups, but I think even with the larger space in terms of the corporate sector or the policy sector, it's important to identify key intervention areas where students at different levels can be part of, so that, you know, they also can carve their careers according to their interests.
Great insights. In fact, probably that's the way out, that as these students come out after their schooling or colleges, they come to CDP as interns or as researchers in terms of understanding those climate change parameters, understanding the nitty-gritties of it, and probably implementing within their own context of farming, of afforestation, and these net zero concepts in times to come. Unfortunately, just out of these metros, the information asymmetry is very prevalent. We need to bridge that gap. Rosita ma'am, over to you. One challenge and the solution part.
I think everything has been really wonderfully covered by Ms. Madhu and Ms. Pratna. So I would just reiterate those points. I really like what Madhu ma'am especially mentioned about how you're taking, you know, you're making your university very practical And I think that's what I would like to really highlight here, because we have, when we are students, we are going through so many lectures, there's so much information overload anyway these days with social media and overwhelming platforms. And I think students are therefore a bit overwhelmed in mentioning doomsday and terms like this. But at the end, it all boils down to very practical steps. Somebody has asked about this in the Q&A section, so we'll be happy to share more resources with you. We are also trying to, collect these simple practices. What can we propose to someone who wants to be part of the action? And it's highlighted as per 3 categories of like lifestyle choices that we take every day, whether it's being conscious consumer, really reducing the need to, purchase something. And if you purchase, what can it be the sustainable choice? Then coming to business, which is more looking at the industry level, because we do want the big players to make the change. And then really looking at education. So something that Pratna also mentioned about the importance of education. So these are practical tools that are already available to us that we can learn, and then we can pass on the learning in our network. So there are many practical steps that we should be taking, but the learning pedagogy in all our universities and colleges needs to change. I think some of the best practices already mentioned by Ms. Madhu can be a model for many other universities, because once students see that happening and they get apprenticeship or internship opportunities a little bit more earlier in the beginning of the career, we see there's a lot of difference between those who get that in the beginning of their career while they're still studying, as opposed to just suddenly only, putting up in your CV after graduating and finding jobs. So I think we need to bring that industry interface in a big way in our colleges and even at our school level. There's no harm in actually thinking from the school level, say 11th to 12th standard, on having industry interactions. Delhi government has started some of these schemes where students are encouraged to, submit startup ideas and actually become entrepreneurs, micro entrepreneurs. And I think that can be a good future for all of us. Yeah.
Great, thank you, thank you. And Aditya ji, I I leave it to you with a small question that as students, these 300 odd students joining us, as an individual, what they can do in this fight against climate change. Please help us enlighten on this aspect.
Okay, sure, Bhavesh. First of all, before answering that question, I would like to say a lot of doomsday word is coming. So you see, the doomsday word, I think, please, all the kids who are here, who are going through this, don't get disappointed. There's a lot of hope. We need the technology and we need people to act together. That's the 2 things we are looking forward to. And the same problem came in 1960 when people wanted to go to the moon. And it was decided that we'll go to the moon. And yes, the humans landed on moon. Similarly, in COVID times, initially to take 30, 40 years to do research on any vaccine. The vaccine was developed in 1 year, right? So all the kids must have seen that in 2020, sitting at home, how things were happening. So there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope, and I'm quite sure that this problem will be solved. So don't think negatively that it's a doomsday thing happening and what's the point? Actually, just enjoy yourself. What's the point of studying anything about it? But no, don't think about it. That's a negative thing. It's the whole idea here is that things will be solved and you will be playing a role in it. So I think that's a very uplifting thing to know that you are part of a solution and you're not part of a challenge. So bringing now on to the Bhavesh's question, that probably for 3-4 things which you could do as to begin with. I would say 3-4 things. The first thing probably you can do as a student is start switching off lights. Conserve electricity. Most of our energy is coming from coal in India. 70-80%, as I said, it depends where you are staying, probably 100% coming from coal at some places. So in that situation, every unit which you saves 2 units at the coal plant, because we have 50% loss of energy when the transmission happens. So please plug out your mobile phone charger when you're not charging your phone. It's a transformer. It takes a lot of electricity, and new study says that probably 50% of the electricity is now being taken by those transformers, little transformers, which we all have in our houses now. So save on energy. Try to change the bulbs in your house, make it all LED if possible. Buy air conditioners, fridges, which are all 5-star. So they'll save you money. They're also very good for the environment. So probably just look at those things around in your house. This is the first thing you can do. Second thing is, in your kitchen, have 2 bins, have a green bin where you can throw all the kitchen waste. Your mom can throw all the kitchen waste, or your cook or yourself, like you throw it every there. And all your water bottles, all your paper, everything should be going in that blue bin in your kitchen, which you can just then put out for recycling. Otherwise what happens is most of the things, even the recyclers can't say, if you put everything in one bin and throw it out, it goes to the landfill. Just imagine so much of resources which our panelists were talking about recycling. That circular economy is based on how you're able to separate things and then probably recycle them and take them to various stages. So try to see how you can use the products for a longer time, and how you can segregate things, and how you can do the composting of the liquid waste for your society or RWA or your house. In case you have a garden, you can do it for yourself also. So this is the second major thing I'd like to tell you, that look at how because this is all emissions. And believe me, that pizza which you throw away, like you are hungry, you take a pizza, you eat 6 slices and the 2 slices go to the bin. Well, you see, so much of energy goes into growing those olives, energy goes into growing those potatoes, tomatoes, and anything which you're putting in your pizza or buns, that everything has taken energy to grow. So that is also going to the landfill. So in case if you're not hungry, put it in the fridge, eat it again. Don't waste, because the world is hungry and we are wasting food. So I think this is one of the second most powerful thing after saving electricity. If you stop wasting your food, and if you start encouraging people around you that we should not waste food, that's going to cut down emissions majorly. And of course, if you can try to reduce a little bit about your meat consumptions, like you can start going vegetarian sometimes and reduce a little bit of reduction. I'm not saying you become vegans, but in case you enjoy your meat, please go ahead. Just see if you can reduce the frequency, because that takes a lot of energy. The amount of energy goes in, the water goes in for meat production is also a big problem. So let's move away from food. The third thing is, like, you can do some tree planting. Like, for example, nowadays I'm so happy to say I go to lots of schools and institutions. They all give you a tree now. They started giving you small potted plants as return gifts. In birthdays also they're giving trees. That's a very good thing. Try to take part in all these drives. See wherever you can encourage this type of work happening. So this really helps, because the trees, up till now, despite all the technology in the world, the tree is the only solid technology which takes out carbon dioxide from atmosphere, and nobody beats it even in today. Up till now, we are still struggling with other technologies. So trees, if you have plenty of trees around you, good trees, they're good for birds. You have a nice place to walk around. And another very good thing is that in case you plant trees in your community, if you have land areas around you, you put your trees out there. This also reduces the temperature, the heat island effect. So you will have a more pleasant surrounding. You'll have somewhere to go around. You'll have flowers, birds. So this all brings more, it's psychologically also better. So trees is again the third thing. And the fourth last thing I like to talk about is probably look at how you are transporting yourself, because in today's world, we all are transporting everywhere, because either you're taking a bicycle, or you're taking a car, or you're taking a public transport, you're taking a metro. So those things also matter. So probably if you can work it out that your transportation is clean, you're taking cycles for small things, you're taking your electric, you're slowly shifting to electric thing, you're encouraging electric projects. So this will again help in the long run. So these are all doable things at a personal level, which you can do. And lastly, I will just say is, don't lose that hope, because hope is the most important thing, and hope is something which is renewable itself. So with that note, back to you, Bhavesh.
Thank you. Thanks. Indeed, hope is renewable. It's going to revitalize us. It keeps us going. We are joined by some 100 more students on YouTube channel as well. It would be a bit of discrimination if I don't take a question. Rekha ma'am, please allow me to take one question before I hand over the mic to you for a proper announcement, formal announcement. The question is, to boost our why behind our moral goals for one planet, can our panelists share their own experiences on what was their why for their moral planet goals? A very philosophical kind of a question from our friend, Mr. Nikhil. Anybody who wants to answer it, please. Pratna, Rosita, Madhu ma'am, anyone, and a very crisp shot. Your moral goal on why you did this.
Well, I can just say it in, one line. I mean, why I started doing this, because I really did believe in the power of like one person also starting something and having a multiplier effect. So sometimes people question that, what can one individual do? But I think once we make that start, influence others, I have seen a multiplier effect in my network over the period of time. I have been influenced by many, I have influenced many people as well. So both ways. So I guess that multiplier effect is the hope that basically got me here working on this.
Bhavish, in my case, why we started as a institute, reason being that our stakeholders were good number. So we were having 20,000 plus students. We have adopted villages. We were having industry with us. So I have seen now the years that we have started impacting their lives also. And it's so clear that now the students, when they talk about anything, they are very conscious about not wasting the food, because now it has become a chain of ideas going from one stakeholder to another. Because when industry is coming, they are also talking about this. Teachers are also started talking about this, and seeing the campus, it has come into their, I think, subconscious mind that they have to do something very little, and we have started praising them. Small gifts in the shape of plants, some seeds, and small gifts we have started giving them, those who are doing something very remarkable. And the result of it is that we are coming up with so many startups, so many new ideas are coming, and they are coming to me into my, I have a very smart system of taking the feedback. I have a mail which is on Gmail, not on Chitkara. It is I am listening. So anybody can write anything to me to ask suggestions or to give any feedback about the campus. So they've started saying me, madam, this is an idea. Can you put it into your construction? I see the construction activities. So they, every day they are giving me the ideas, and those ideas are going homes also. So see, we are impacting. If one family has 4 people at home, 20,000 students means 80,000 people. The industries, we have more than 200 industries attached with us. We are talking to them. So I think it's a very direct impact, which we are able to do. I don't know what will be the outcome in near future, but I think we all should not be very scared. My dear students, you should not be scared that something is going to happen where all of a sudden we will be, we are all going to die. It's not happening. For the last 50 years, we are talking about the environmental hazards. So it's okay, but we have to be very conscious. Now, this is a time that we all should be very conscious. We all should work together to make this planet livable. That is my take on it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. In fact, the very multiplier effect that Rosita was speaking of, as an educator, you might have been teaching those 100 students in the initial go, and now it's 10,000 students. See the kind of impact this might have been going through. Pratna, I can't live without you as well. So what's your influence in terms of taking of it?
I think I agree with Rojita on the power of individual action. I think if everybody starts working, then it has a multiplier effect. But I also think I believe in the power of partnerships. I think all the knowledge is not with one. So I think it always helps to work together. And it also helps, we continue to learn because environmental challenges continue to evolve. So we continue to grow as we work with each other and learn. On a positive note, I think I'd just like to quote figures because I think it's important for us to understand that, especially because we work with a lot of data, and Rojita just said that, what you can't measure, you cannot manage. Just if you look at the simple involvement of just the corporate sector in climate engagement, every year we've seen almost a 25% increase. And if you look at this year particular, between 2021 and 2022, we have actually figures which show a 50% increase in terms of the interest of the corporate sector in getting engaged. So I think I think we should just stop making this a doomsday kind of a scenario, because there's also a lot of positivism, and let us focus on the positivism, because I think there is tremendous amount of work that youth can do. And I think especially this forum needs to be very positive, because I have seen that it is the youth who actually can bring a lot of change. So I'd like to say that I think youth is the power, and my belief is that youth will take us, where we need to go.
We promise we won't deceive you. As students, I'm speaking on their behalf. We won't disappoint you. Aditya ji, yeah.
Yes, Bhavish. I'll sum it up. Like why I got into this space. I did my schooling and initial education in Dehradun. It was a very beautiful green valley. Nice. Started working. Absolute concrete jungles. Getting transferred from one city to another. So wanted to do something, and I started in 2005. Started making all type of things, environmental things. I started doing despite my work. And then in 2007, I saw this movie, Inconvenient Truth of Al Gore. I had gone to see this movie with my wife and my kids, and I literally fell off my chair after seeing that movie. That is this the future we are talking about? So yes, that was the transformative moment in my life. I think that moral question you're asking, that I thought for myself, and then me and my wife, we came back home and we discussed, and she said, well, you've been dabbling your thing, you've been very frustrated, you want to do something for environment. This is the thing we should do. So that's how probably I started working on it. And yes, I've been working on it. Then after that, I have been devoting a lot of time to it. But yeah, that is what my model coming was.
Indeed inspiring. Thank you so much, Aditya ji. And thank you so much, panelists, for joining us, inspiring us, sharing your journey and the probable way forward which our students can join with you under your guidance in times to come. With this, I hand over the mic to Rekha Lala, who is spearheading the Green Campus program at Climate Reality Project. And panelists, you'll be happy to know that more than 1,000 students have registered for this Green Career job perspective that is going to happen every weekend. Today is the launch, and every weekend we'll be discussing with various experts on renewable energy, on circular economy, on how the students can make their resumes better, how they can interact with sectoral experts in times to come, so as to have a meaningful dialogue and open up their brain, but the future, where the future is calling for them. Rekha ji, over to you for the formal announcement, please.
Thank you, Bhavish. I'll just take a little time. Why we started, we have this Green Campus program where we tell teachers, students to make their audit report, see how they are consuming, what are the resources they are consuming. We talk about waste, we talk about energy, we talk about biodiversity. So on 5 domains, we talk to them. And it's been a year round. I've been after their life to make their audit report and submit it to me. So then I thought, why not? There are so many passionate students, those who want to, I think, pursue their career in environment or something which, like everybody said, something which you are passionate about. If you have your passion with the job, I think that is the best thing to happen. So I'll just give you an example of mine also. When I was maybe in 80s and 90s, I was choosing my career, and I'm an artist. I wanted to take an artist. Be an artist. And so my mother said, why artist to kuch kamata hi nahi hai, bilkul mat lena, koi zarurat nahi hai. And then she said, no, you take science. So I took science, and I first graduated from science. But still, I think वो एक मलाल रह गया दिल में कि मैं आर्टिस्ट और एक्सपर्ट से नहीं सीख पाई. So I thought these students, they are so passionate about environment. Why not bring all the experts, those who have, and now with the onset of internet, at that time we had no internet, and environment was not a part of it. And I remember going to college for 30 kilometers on bicycle, coming back, not thinking that I am doing something for sustainability. It was a way of life. Environment was a way of life. Now, with the onset, we have so much knowledge available, as everybody said, but filtering that out and giving it to the students, I think that was important. So we thought, why not? Summers are the time when our students are relatively free. Not, I won't say that they're always free. They have their tuitions, they have their special classes and everything in the evening. But we thought all Saturdays, why don't we start and call all the experts and talk to them about their career, how they can choose, what they can choose, and let them decide how. So now we are having every Saturday from 3 to 5, all the experts coming from different fields and guiding our students. And students are 1100 students which are joined here, and they have registered with us. Actually, we have let it open to our green campus schools only. We have not it is like we have made it for only for them. But if we get a good response, we'll let it be open to other students as well. So this is what all the green campuses, they are from Tamil Nadu, they are from Darjeeling, they are from everywhere, even from Chitkara University as well, ma'am. We have a lot of schools from Chitkara also, students joining us. So we will be having this every Saturday. And I think today we have the skilling session on resume building by Mr. Shivam Singh, and he's here with us. So I don't want to take much of a time and for this program. I think this program is for the students, and most of the students, they are waiting for the skilling session to start. So over to Mr. Shivam Singh. I'll just introduce him. I'll just take 5 minutes to introduce Mr. Shivam Singh. He is an excellent. He is an alumnus of Pune. So he has completed his MBA from XLR Jamshedpur. He is a founder and CEO of the research-based startup that is Green Solution by Explore It, which specializes in undertaking projects around sustainability. His startup has collaborated and worked with various government institutions, municipal corporation, international NGOs, universities, various corporate business entities. Explore It is now official sustainability partner with Symbiosis International, that's a deemed university. Mr. Singh has represented youth climate activists at the Global UN Climate Change Summit, COP21, and served as a youth advisor for India's Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change. Currently, Mr. Shivam Singh is involved in implementation of the rainwater harvesting in 22 villages of Pune, and also running a campaign for native fruit tree plantation. I think I've seen that all the you had, I think, taken so many jailers and everybody, and you have taken that part. And Vardha, if I'm not wrong, that is those who have taken, you have taken that part, and you are planting that, and the nice plantation. I think after a year they have grown so big, those trees. So very nice work, Shivam. I think you will give a gist of that also to my students, and they would be very happy that the work you are doing. I keep telling them you plant trees and they are the only one which can suck the carbon dioxide out from the atmosphere. But I think you should tell them what kind of a work you are doing before we start the skilling session. Over to you, ma'am, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Climate Reality, for having me here. So the plantation drive, which ma'am was talking about, it was done in Yeroda Jail, which is like the second biggest prison in India. And as a part of the Sudharagriha Karikram, how they want to reform the prisoners. So what we have done, they have a big area over there, like 300 acres of land. So we took 7 acres initially. We thought that we'll do the plantation, because when you do the plantation, I mean, again, World Environment Day, you'll see a lot of people planting trees, governments pledging that they will plant 5 crore trees, 10 crore trees, like that. But at times, the reality is the survival rate is very low. So why we identified the jail? Because of 2 reasons. One, we have these jail inmates will be working from day to day, every day, from morning till the evening. And second is the availability of water, and it is a covered space. So once you see that it is a covered space, there is someone to take care of it. So the chances of survival are high. You should definitely plant the tree. That is like how we do it. So I'll be starting the session, and before that, I would like to give you a brief about what we do at Explore It. So again, I'm not an environmental expert. I have been listening and learning. Through Climate Reality only. My sustainability journey started with Climate Reality in 2015 when I attended the training in New Delhi, where Mr. Al Gore was there for 3 days, and he trained us about basically trying to convert us into bridge between the climate change message and the community, and that is what I have been doing. in education wise, again, I've done my bachelor's from Symbiosis and I've done my master's from XLRI in HR. So where I never had environmental as any of my specialization. But my question is always to the students and to everyone out there. I mean, the air outside, it never, it's not going to differentiate between an environmentalist and non-environmentalist. If it is bad, if it is bad for you, it is bad for me, it is bad for anyone out there. The water quality, air quality index, loss of biodiversity. These are the things which are critical to every individual's life. And if they are so critical, then we can't really think of, putting them into one category. So do not think about environment or sustainability as one area. It's like a common area that we all share. So I just have a small presentation. I hope that it's visible. And based on the topic, which was like planet need green jobs. So the working model of Explore It is something very similar, that we collaborate with NGOs, we collaborate with government agencies, we collaborate with corporates, and then we execute our projects. And in the core, students are there. So why we choose students? Because again, it's good to work with a crowd which is ready to learn. And again, it's like, it's a practical thing, that it's good to make a drawing on a blank page. Someone of a lot of experience, you will feel, you can feel the difference when you go into, let's say, class standard 6 student and a PhD student. Try to talk to them, you will feel the difference. The absorption level of knowledge is much higher than in a class 6 student. So that is why we, at Explore, we try to convert these young students at the initial level into change makers. And again, starting with the basic definition of the green job, which UN suggests that it as a job that reduces the environmental impact of enterprises and economic sectors, ultimately to levels that are sustainable. So yeah. One question, I think that one question was there in the Q&A session as well, that why we need a green jobs. Why? So there are 3 reasons that I could point out. The first one is very simple, that you don't have an alternative. Just imagine you want to work with, let's say, a company, someone who is, who is generating solar pumps, compared to, let's say, a company which is into non-renewable energy sector. So the answer is very clear, that you'd like to stay with a company which has a future. So that is one thing where you don't have an alternative. The second one is the competition. Now, one thing, you will see that once you get into your graduation or you get into your post-graduation, the entire batch is going to get the same degree. So if you're doing BBA, the entire batch is getting the degree of the BBA. Maybe some, higher CGPAs or lower CGPAs, but at the end of the day, the companies do not they don't only rely on the CGPAs or the marks. They rely on you as a person. As an HR consultant, I can tell you that we would love to hire a person with lesser CGPA, but a motivation to work. And that's why where it is required that, if you have that green quotient in you, you become more employable. You become more of an asset. And then it's sustainable. If you can name a company which is, let's say, working in the fossil fuel industry, and you have a limited stock, so you all know that the fossil fuels are going to end at some point of time. So would you like to stay with that company, or would you like to go ahead with another job which is green in nature? There's also an interesting thing that you will find out that every job can be a green job, and here where the concept of solutionism comes into the picture. So imagine that, again, if India and the world is willing to go ahead with the net zero, the targets, we would have to revive we have to refine and revive in such a way that we do not hamper the growth at the same time. And we are constantly on the development part without compromising on the sustainability aspect of it. So when you do it, I mean, obviously, we need a lot of jobs in solar sector, windmill sectors, waste segregation sectors. And I think students must have seen few episodes of Shark Tank. I think it's telecasted on Sony. So when you'll see all these, all these ventures coming up and putting their ideas, I'm telling you that if you'll try to find out, at least 1/3 of the total ideas that are presented had sustainability quotient into them. They were talking about sustainability, either repurposing, recycling, or a greener concept into it. So right now, the moral obligation, the social obligation is so high that a corporate cannot afford to have a policy which goes against the sustainability standards. And that's why, I mean, always keep in mind, I mean, there was another question where a student asked that, which job should I go for? I mean, you go for any job until unless you're not the one who is creating the problem and you are the one who is providing the solution, your job is a green job. An accountant who is working in a firm comes up with a strategy which reduces the paper uses by, let's say, 10 turns a year. Don't you call that a green job? So anything and everything in the sector where, I mean, again, why we talk only about jobs? So right now, India, for last 5 to 6 years, India has seen a phenomenal growth in the venture formation. Even Explore is also one of the startup that we created in 2017. Because we identified that there is some problem. There is one campaign that we run through multiple partners. And in last conference also, we had given this task to students that come up with a business plan that how you can convert climate crisis into an opportunity. And why, I mean, there were a few questions that why you don't just need ideas, why you are asking for a business plan. So simple answer to that query and the question is, if an idea or a product or a service, no matter how great it is, until and unless it's not financially viable or culturally viable or socially viable, it's going to fail. If I have to give you a few examples, there was this, not criticizing the innovation of anyone, but there was this company, I think based in Odisha. They came up with the concept of edible cutleries. So once you eat, you can eat your spoon and you can eat your fork. So again, if you look at the purpose of it, the objective of it is hilarious. I mean, no waste, and you're getting some nutrition at the end of it. But here they also faced a technical barrier, which was again culturally oriented. In India, it is not culturally accepted to eat the plate in which you are eating. Just imagine you go to a shop and you are having, let's say, some chaat. So after you eat the chaat, eating the plate won't be that comfortable for everyone. And that is why the innovation was not able to scale it up as it should have done. So, I mean, that's why we asked them, go to the market, get an idea, convert this climate crisis into an opportunity. And again, solar, I think Aditya sir has already mentioned about it, that although we have solutions, but the execution takes a lot of time due to a lot of problems. I mean, I'm from Pune, and I can tell you that only 5% of the overall residential societies in Pune have solar setups. 95% of them don't have. And when we approach them that, you should at least have a solar setup so that your energy requirement can be met and you can go green. So the biggest problem that they tackle is that in the society, people don't agree because it comes with a huge investment. The ROI is for 7 years. We are not ready to pay that much. So all these functional problems you will face. And that's why any job that you do, whether it is in a corporate sector or you are coming up with your own idea, make sure that it is viable. One of the idea I would like to share that also won the prize at the last conference was about the soap. You go to a temple, especially to the Shiva temple, and in the temple you'll see that, especially in the Shiva, Mahashivratri, and at least on Mondays, people offer milk to the deity, to the Shivling. again, not, anyways, it is up to their, individual's personal belief. So when you will see that milk which goes into, some sewage or some open water source, so it's the students, they came up with this idea that, we put a container after the milk is offered, you put a container, let's store the milk and refine it and convert them into herbal soap and sell it in the same temple, which not only solves the crisis of waste, but also create a job opportunity for few people. In the entire process, at least 8 to 10 people will get employed in one single temple if they are generating certain liters. Again, that is the technicalities that I'm not really aware of, but this is the model that they presented. And it's amazing. There is a company called Code, which is based in Noida, and they collect cigarette butts. And they're converting cigarette butts into soft toys. All these ideas, you will get to see that they'll be able to scale up only and only if they are accepted in a multidisciplinary approach and from all the angles, whether it is economics, finance, social, cultural, regional, anything and everything which makes a product or a service. And that's why we always tell that every job can be a green job. Now this picture of a Zomato delivery guy. Students, I think all of you must have seen that when you order on Zomato, it gives you that, we are offsetting the carbon. And this much is the overall carbon thing, we please. So there is an option. I mean, one thing which you all can start doing it, if you're ordering, let's say if you're ordering the food, a simple step that you just opt out of the cutleries. You already have it in your house. Why do you need it? So now if you'll see it, Zomato, the guy, the person who was delivering your food, the packaging can be the eco packaging where they have, let's say, used banana leaves or some other leaves. The transportation which is required, either it is a cycle or it is an electric vehicle, electric scooter. In Pune, 80% of the overall fleet for Zomato will go all electric by the end of this year. They've already gone 30% electric here in the city, and they're planning to go 80% in the end of this 2022. The t-shirt that they're wearing, it is made up of recycled fabric. So if you look at it, it's not only about you planting trees or you planting, doing something which directly benefits the environment, but also the small aspects of it. Even in your traditional jobs, if you're able to get that, maybe you come up with an innovation so that you can turn your own job into a green job. A hotelier, if they are able to get into this gray water treatment plant, or even in advanced level, if they can treat the black water treatment plant, you're not discharging anything. You are already your campus itself. So, but that HR person or the general manager or anyone in that hotel need not to be from the environment sector, but their jobs can easily be transformed into a green job if they have a proper motivation and an objective, which results into something positive towards environment. Now, generally, what all options do you have post-college? So either you will go for a corporate job, or you'll create your own venture, like a lot of students are doing these days. And then if you're done with your graduation, you'll go for your further studies, or you will go for your family-owned business. So these are the options that you generally have. Now, even if you consider all these opportunities that you have, and you have to opt at least for one of them, you will see that the competition part, which I highlighted in the previous slide, which was about you getting the same degree, and you're competing with a person who may or may have a better degree. Again, let's say in India, the IITians are considered superior. That I'm not getting into the debate that is that good or bad, but it is what it is. So just imagine, and let's not talk about the degree only. Let's talk about like you're planning for going for an MBA from, let's say, the top Ivy League colleges or from IIMs. There, you're competing with a person who has 6 years of work experience. So over there, how will you compete? What is your competitive advantage? Even though you're capable, but even how will you showcase that? And that's where, whether it is a corporate job, whether it's a venture formation, whether it is further studies or family-owned business, you will be judged on a piece of paper, which is called your resume, which is your profile. Because every recruiter or every higher study institution won't be able to, they would like to just get into an interview with you with a short profile. And what is a profile? Profile is all about your story. Now, the first suggestion that I always give it to the students is that try to find out a theme. If you're, and it can be anything. I mean, in the terms that, like Rekha ma'am said, that artist, anything and everything whichever has your interest, try to identify that. Let's say I'm good at designing. I would like to go ahead with the graphical designing. So that is my theme. Or I would like to pursue my career into architecture or film and photography. Whatever it is, try to identify it. Once you do it, then you start building. And that's where the enriching part comes. So I'm telling you how you can be a better, I'll say, product in yourself. At the end of the day, when you are getting evaluated on one piece of paper or two, on your resume, on your CV, try to make it as interesting and as enriching as possible. Even for venture formation, a lot of people say that they would like to go ahead with a startup. Why do I need a CV at all? Over there, you can tell them. Just imagine you're going for raising funds. Someone who has graduated from, let's say, IIM Ahmedabad with 6 years of work experience and has done bootstrapping versus one undergraduate student who has not done anything. So I would always like to take a chance with a person who has a proven track record. And that's why it's very important that whatever you do, so first step is very simple, try to identify the theme and now try to enrich it. And in all these 4 options that generally will be there with the students after they get into graduation or the post-graduation, their entire, the work that they will be doing, or the labor that they're putting, the sincerity that they're putting, it will get reflected in your profile. And that's why the profile remains the most important part of your life. You'll get to know about LinkedIn also. I don't know if you guys are aware of LinkedIn, but it's again a professional social media platform where you connect with people professionally about your work, what they're doing. Let's say I'm into sustainability. So someone maybe in Bangladesh has started something very similar to me. I would like to connect with him and talk about it. So this networking will also be a crucial part. And that is where I bring you like opportunities before jobs. Again, we're talking about green jobs, but how to reach there? What should be the path, even if you would like to reach out there? So volunteering is like the best solution that I always tell to the students, irrespective of your, there was a student in one of the BBA institute. And so during one of the service learning program, she asked that I would like to go for CFA. I don't have an interest in, environment. So I had the same question to her. Then would you like to stick yourself only with CFA work? Because once you do it, once you get into a shell, you won't be able to progress. Because I can tell you from my volunteering experience, it is not only about volunteering. Obviously, you wake up at 7 o'clock, you go for a cleaning drive. That sense of accomplishment, if you clean it, let's say over here, we regularly on every weekend, we do this cleaning drive activities with Adar Punawala and the municipal corporation. So then they gave us a figure. Today you cleaned this much kg of waste. These many plastic bottles you have picked up. So those numbers will give you more motivation. So that is like always the prime motivation for me. When I can identify and can see the result, that is one. I mean, again, the jail inmate story which I was talking about. So we planted 2 types of trees over there. One was Son Chapa, and the second one was the drumstick. So drumsticks, I in fact also me and Aditya sir and Sheetal, we went to the site, and the guy there showed us the trees. Just 2.5 months, and the growth is phenomenal because of 2 things. There is someone to take care of it, and the second is again the water availability. So that sense of accomplishment is always there, that you're contributing something positively to the environment. But the second part is the internship. I mean, when you do the volunteering program, your network grows. It's not only, so I belong to, let's say, I'm someone who is into trading, and I would like to go ahead and do the voluntary program. And believe me, in any voluntary activity, you will at least see that there are at least 15 to 20 different type of people in different type of areas. Someone is into trading, someone is into export import, someone is into social sector, someone is into the corporate sector, someone is working in the light, some consultancy firm. So that is the beauty of it. Someone might be very senior to you, someone might be from your batch, someone might be from junior to you. Try to get in touch with them, because that will help you to grow as a person. And that's why, like, when you would like to reach to a level of someone near a green job, you should be enriched. So that's what, like, in our terminology, we call that, everyone has a price tag. So try to raise your MRP as much as possible. And how you can do that? By enriching yourself with such experiences. Internships, try to get involved with local organization. Try to, when I say that, try to identify the theme, try to get in also touch on someone who has their objective in sync with your own objective. So get that. Competitions, there are a lot of competitions keep on going. I can recommend you Dare to Compete. I think majority of you might have already heard about it, but if not, please go to Dare to Compete. There on that particular website, you will see multiple organizations putting up multiple opportunities. Please do participate in those activities. They give you more exposure and more opportunities to explore with. And the skill training, that's why I'm talking about how you can raise your price tag. You can raise your price tag after you're properly skilled. So if let's say I know Excel, MS Excel, my friend knows advanced Excel, my another friend knows advanced Excel and PowerPoint and Microsoft Word, AQL and everything, he knows coding. So who will be more valuable to the company? That person. So that's why, you can also try to explore certain, let's say, if you have passion about sustainability, do read about SDGs. What are SDGs? The net zero targets, what is Paris Agreement? So all these things, please try to, get as much as possible and try to, be as enriched as possible. And again, try to focus on 3 things. If you would like to have an enriched profile, one is the result. Whatever you are doing, whether it is a voluntary program or an internship program or any activity, is it getting you some results? That is one deciding factor, whether you should continue with that activity or not. The second one is the impact part of it. I plant trees, it's giving oxygen, and I should go ahead with that. I do rainwater harvesting, that will make a village tanker free. Obviously, I will do that. Likewise, whatever activity you think that you should put into your resume or your CV, they should have results and impact part of it. So again, if you'll talk to any HR consultant, especially after you're done with your graduation and you would like to consult at which job should I go for, when they will try to at least have a look at your profile, they will make sure that you have some result. So you write, I'll give you 2 statements. So I worked at this note. I mean, I worked at this Taj Hotel for 3 months in my internship. This is one statement that you can put in your CV. The second one, I worked in the operations management, which resulted into enhanced efficiency by 14% of the workday labor force. So these numbers, these results, these impacts, they create huge difference from a novel CV to a CV that one person cannot ignore. When you have results and impacts put, I mean, in front of your eyes, I mean, when let's say I'm evaluating you, I can see the results, I can see the impact. I would be more than happy to take you as one of my employee or as a candidate for masters, whatever it is. And the third part is always about the creativity, that you try to identify the USP as well. Why are you special? I mean, there was this app called Dunzo initially. So Dunzo used to deliver products. You know, you order it and it will get delivered in some time. Another app came and it encroached its market, which was Zepto. Why it was successful? Because they reduced the time. So they came up with a new creative concept. Initially, food delivery channels, they never had this live tracking system. Where is your guy? Where is the delivery guy? But the new company, Uber Eats, came up with a new concept where you can track it with ₹1 as a delivery cost. So that is creativity. And creativity does not always mean that you come up with something out of the box. It can be a traditional method only, but with a solution approach to it. Okay. So again, try to identify a theme, try to enrich it as much as possible. And then you should always be focused on results, impact, and creativity. And that's it from my side. And in the end, I just like to tell students that never get, a lot of times what happens that people get, anxious. At times when they see a lot of people doing a lot of stuff and I'm falling behind. Don't have that in your mind even for a second. You can start it right away. I mean, your journey towards green job can start from tomorrow or from today itself. It's just that how you are able to manage it. At the end of the day, it is all about managing it. Are you able to manage your current priorities and your future aspirations in a good way? If yes, then you will have a good result. Otherwise, what happens that people get, they want to do something, but then at the end of the day, they are not able to cope up with the pressure. Then they see their another friend posting a picture on Instagram about something that they're doing, and then they get demotivated, which shouldn't be there. All right. Always try to use everything as a positive motivation. Even if it is a failure, it is a teaching. And as always, people keep on telling you that the failures are the best way to learn. So I think it will be amazing if you guys just start from the scratch. Always have a blank mind approach. Always be learner for life, and never have that attitude or even for a second that you know everything, because that is something which will start decreasing the overall efficiency of your profile. So always be learner, learn. Even if you know something and someone is sharing something extra, try to get something extra out of it. And that is how you start, boond boond se sagar bharne ka approach. So that is how it will work. So I hope that you will get some benefit out of this small session that we had.
So I think before you leave or say goodbye, there are some questions you have to answer. So my students are there. Yes, Vidhan Tiwari is saying, Mr. Shivam Singh, is there any benefit of having certificates, and would you hire a person if they not only have their college degree but also certificates from various areas of martial art, eco lectures or debate, etc.?
Okay. At times I don't believe in the concept of the certificates. I personally don't agree with it, but the overall system is designed in such a way that if you don't have the certificate, how will you convince a person that you have done it? So for example, if let's say I am passionate about politics, right? How will I do it? So I must have done my political science graduation from somewhere, or because to demonstrate that, to convince someone that you are passionate about the topic, you should have something to show to them. That's why the certificates come. And this question, I mean, would you hire a person who did not only have their college degree but also certificates from various areas like martial arts? Yes, that is why the enrichment part comes. If you're a certified national scuba diver and you're getting into corporate job, they are totally not linked. But if you'll see, there is this concept of integrated and inclusive approach. So this integrated approach will always make you a better candidate. So try to get as much exposure as possible, but not try everything. I mean, that's why, identifying the theme and making sure that, I can deliver this much. I can only volunteer for 2 weeks a month. Don't stress yourself. I mean, even as an HR consultant, I can tell you that person with maximum number of internships don't get the job. Maximum with someone with the highest CGPA mostly they don't get the job. Someone with maybe more than average marks, with a focused approach towards something, with a settled and the balanced approach, they always get the job. And that is why you should always be focused on that.
Thank you. I think you perfectly summarized that you can convert your job into your passion. You can convert your business into environment, or you can link it, or you can generate it, or you can create it like that. I think you have summed it up and told them that whatever you do, you can have sustainability into it. So I think there are a few questions which they have again they are saying, and they are putting it, and I'll just read one last one which they have they are saying that we have been so used to this kind of lifestyle that it changes drastically. Will the people accept it?
Change is something which is always, it will take its own time. So if you will ask someone in your family, I mean, this is also something which happened. Even in the menstrual hygiene. I mean, when people started talking about sanitary napkins, it was a taboo in the society. People don't used to talk about it. Then they started talking about sanitary pads. Then came the new, sustainable things like the menstrual cups. But again, is the society ready to accept it? So change will obviously take time. And again, don't blame anyone when they're not able to adopt immediately. It will take time. I mean, just imagine 10 years back, how many people ever thought of going digital with the currency? Today, we have not only UPIs, but we also have the cryptocurrency concepts. So things will change. Some changes will be like immediate. Some changes will take time. So try to be more patient with them. I mean, patience ke saath, things will eventually fall in place. Trust the process.
Yeah, yes, well said. So I think all the students, thank you so much for explaining it to my students, and not about resume building, but you told them to convert their thing into environmental and connect it with the environment. So that was the best thing. And about that soap making, which you said, it was great. And a lot of teachers have taken that idea, and they are saying that now they will have the, I think one teacher told me that she will have now not in cups, but ice cream in cone. So I think they are all taking it, whatever suggestions you have given, and the students are really appreciating it. Thank you so much for coming and talking to our students. And we'll keep troubling you. I think all the questions which they are sending me, I'll forward it to you if they have any. So we can answer that in the next session which we have. Thank you, Bhavesh, and Ria, for supporting and taking that up. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, students, for listening and being there. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.